Hey there, Glitchers, and welcome to the monthly Glitch AMA session. I'm Rebecca, Senior Community Manager at Glitch, and thank you all for joining today's discussion all about the Glitch Decentralized Exchange, what we know as the GEX. Today, I'm joined by our CTO, Diego, and Marketing Manager, Aram. Welcome to you both. It's going to be an informative session as we take a sneak peek into the inner workings of the GEX, the flagship DEX on Glitch, which we're preparing to launch this summer. So let's get settled in and explore together what makes GEX stand out in the DeFi space and why we're so excited for its upcoming launch. So let's dive in. Diego, welcome. How are you doing?
Very well here. Excited with the GEX
Yes.
and everything that we're doing there.
Absolutely. So to kick us off, can you give us a sneak peek into any upcoming technical features that the team is currently working on for the GEX?
Yeah, sure. So we have two different sets of features. The first one is with relation to the asset, to the quantity of assets that we are going to introduce. So that takes a lot of research and a lot of technical effort. To add more assets requires like a specific comprehensive study analysis of the space. So that's first. And second, we are actually, it's more like on a kind of research phase, is to see what other blockchains we can swap to. So that's more like at this moment is more like I would say it's like more like it's not applied research, it's technical research, because we want to be able to, for example, we are closely looking at Hyperledger and Corda as blockchains. That does not mean that we're going to support those, but it's a good practice for us to be able to be on top of the next generation blockchain. So then we can swap across bridge across different blockchain, not only Ethereum, which is the main one, but what's going to happen in the space with other blockchains. So that's why we are taking a deep look at Hyperledger and Corda, mostly for the technicalities. So that will give, so we can create some code base that will allow us to pivot to those, or any other that are built upon those frameworks. Okay, so yeah, that's what keeps us awake at night.
Great. Well, that sounds like there's quite a lot of work and thought going into that. So it's really great to hear that you guys are thinking ahead as well in terms of building out the features that will come, soon, and then what will happen in the future. So that's really, really exciting. Could you give us a kind of high-level overview of the technology stack that's behind the GEX?
Yeah, sure. So it's pretty straightforward. So if the community here is familiar with Uniswap, it's mostly the same stack, which is smart contracts on the EVM platform. So that means those are developed in the Solidity programming language, and some other part of the smart contracts are built upon our own Glitch framework, which is Rust. So the technology stack is Rust on one hand and Solidity on the other, and it's a typical smart contract infrastructure where, yeah, I mean, for each asset class or each pair, we have one smart contract that is taking the order book, so to speak. It's not exactly an order book, but it's the most similar analogy. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The technical stack, there is not too much on that.
Great. No, thank you for sharing. That is very interesting. The next thing that I want to ask you about is, could you tell us more about the decision-making process behind the initial features that will be on the GEX?
Yeah, we took a look at the golden standard here, which is Uniswap, and we with the help of our product manager, we have a specific role in the team who is the product manager and the product owner, and took a look to understand what are the critical, what are with all the transactions flowing from in and from the Uniswap system, what are the most relevant ones or the most volume one. So then we took that as a starting point, and then we iterate with the senior management team and the product manager to understand, okay, what we can deliver as soon as possible as an MVP, minimum viable product, so that we can go live and start getting more traction on that. So that's it's more like a typical kind of lean startup methodology in which, but we had the advantage that we were able to tap into the openness of Uniswap to understand all the transactions flowing in and out from there. So that gives us like a very good advantage. We didn't start blind, so to speak, as the Uniswap team started like 10 years ago. No, not 10 years, 8 or 7 years ago when they started the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's one of the great things about technology in this space is that every iteration, every new piece of tech or dApp that comes out, you can learn so much from those that came before you and build upon that to build something new. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Diego. We were mentioning earlier on about smart contracts, and I'd love to talk a bit about how the team is ensuring that the GEX's smart contracts are secure for users to trust, including if there's any current or future safeguards to minimize like front-running attacks.
Yeah, sure. So we have an internal team. I mean, we have the team who is dedicated to create the smart contract, and then we have another internal team who is taking a look at the security. So is using different specific tool set to run a lot of transactions to simulate different scenarios of in the transaction. So that's like the black box approach, in which you don't know how the code is structured. So that's our internal team is doing the black box approach, in which you try to break the system, like using lot of scripts that are simulating traffic. So that's one side, and we also have another independent internal team who is doing the white box approach, in which take a look at the code and tries to understand what are the different patterns that are the typical exploit scenarios, which are very well known right now. I mean, smart contracts have been there for like 8 years now, 7 years. So as of now, there is a very well documented knowledge base of what are the typical patterns, architectural patterns that allows exploits. So that's how the internal team uses those patterns and tries to understand if any of the flows could be open to those kind of exploits. But again, we have the advantage that the space is pretty mature. I mean, the smart contract space, the security wise, is premature. This is not like the old days. It was a wild west where nobody knew where the exploits. Only after the hacks were already conducted. I remember I was part of the DAO. I mean, I was in the community and trying to help when was the DAO hack, was the very first hack, very big hack. It was like $100 million at the moment, which was huge. It's like in today's dollars, that would be like a couple of $billion hack. So that was the DAO was the first smart contract that was going to leverage all the Ethereum feature set. And it was a pretty simple mistake, but nobody knew at the moment how the security work in smart contracts. Right now, it's pretty straightforward. You do not need to have a PhD in applied math or technology to understand the typical architectural patterns to do some exploits.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, that's pretty big to know that, that you were involved in the space then when that big hack happened. So it's good to know that, you have that firsthand kind of experience on watching that happen. And as I said before, it's great that in this space, there is that history and that technology and the community around it where we know so much more. And from that education, we can build bigger and better things. So great. Thank you for sharing. That was very insightful. And then my favorite question to always ask is, what are you most looking forward to about the GEX, and why do you believe that it's going to be successful?
Well, I'm looking forward to get a lot of adoption, a lot of traction, so we can gather analytics and metrics. So the best way to move forward with the next features, besides what I can think of, I mean, I mentioned about doing cross-chain, but I don't know if the community wants that. And even if I ask the community, you don't know what you do not know. Only after you start to use something like Henry Ford say that if they would ask the customers what they wanted, they would answer a faster horse. So that's, I mean, nobody knows exactly what do you want until you start to use it. So what I'm trying to say is that we want an evidence-based roadmap, and that means getting a lot of data points in order for us to mine the information and to understand what are the different use cases. So then we can extrapolate that into specific features that nobody knew they wanted until you start to use it. So that's that's what I really look forward to, get a lot of traction, a lot of data points that will help and guide us our planning session for the next features of the GEX.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you there. And that's why, I think introducing the GEX as an MVP first and having an iterative, response to the way that it's developed, people will know what they want when they start using it. So I think, yeah, absolutely hit the nail on the head there and agree with you. Very excited to see what the first GEX is going to look like. So that's great. Thank you so much, Diego. Next, I would love to hear a bit from Aram. I know we've been very busy behind the scenes, working on a lot of marketing stuff and really trying to get the ball rolling on getting the GEX out there. So Aram, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So my first kind of talking point with you is going to be around, how does the GEX aim to maintain true decentralization in terms of governance and user control?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Rebecca. So essentially the GEX, and this also goes in turn to the previous question that you actually asked Diego on why you think the GEX will be so successful, which I would love to touch on really quick, by the way.
Please.
But essentially, the way that the GEX aims to maintain true decentralization in terms of governance, user control, and what I'm looking forward to the most is how we are positioning the GEX from its very inception, since the very beginning, right? And what we're trying to do is get bring the vision of DeFi, what it was originally meant to be, back as opposed to driving towards CDeFi or towards different mechanisms that are inherently more centralized as opposed to what it was supposed to be originally, like, which is decentralized, right? So in terms of the GEX, our overall mission is to build and create a decentralized and transparent exchange on the native Glitch network that fosters not only deep liquidity, but also offers basic token swaps to all users while promoting democratization as much as possible, right? So essentially the GEX is fundamentally committed to maintaining true decentralization by empowering its users to play an active role in governance and control the DEX itself, right? So this means that no matter what steps that we're taking in terms of building the GEX, in terms of launching it, in terms of its GEX tokenomics, every little aspect of the GEX, from its creation to its operations, will be controlled exclusively by the community, right? So essentially, we are building the GEX, we are driving the GEX, and in a way, we're essentially giving it to the world to run as a DAO. And that's originally how, that's how DeFi should be, as opposed to adopting different measures of CDeFi or, different mechanisms of centralization and try to squeeze them into this little niche of what they think DeFi or what everyone thinks DeFi should be because of what's happening in the world. But we got to go back to our core principles, and that's what we're trying to do with the GEX, right? So I wanted to pinpoint a couple of things that really allows us to be more truly decentralized, such as hosting, right? So like adopting a decentralized hosting solution, as an example, can remove a lot of single point of failures, right? It ensures that GEX remains censorship resistant, right? Another example is its runtime, right? So an efficient and secure runtime allows GEX smart contracts to execute, which allows that permissionless swaps to happen, as opposed to doing swaps or trades on centralized exchanges, which require pretty severe KYCs. One of the most recent example now is KuCoin, how they're trying to KYC everyone, right? So using the GEX is a way where you don't necessarily have to do that and give up control or your identity of your assets, and you're able to just utilize smart contracts and trade in a more decentralized way, right? And that's what DeFi was meant to be, right? Its application, where a user-friendly application layer, right, will essentially enable people to navigate and conduct transactions more efficiently as well, right? So there's a lot of aspects as well, including DAO governance, right? And by us adopting, or the GEX adopting a more purposeful DAO governance mechanism, that'll allow essentially community-based decision making, where every single holder has a say in the decisions that affect the GEX. Like I was saying, from operational changes to strategy planning, all made through a voting system that essentially aligns with the needs of its user base. So rather than a team controlling the decisions and the community saying, oh yeah, this is great, or no, this isn't great, and effectively having the platform affected by it, we're giving the control initially to the community to help drive those decisions. So the GEX is a decentralized exchange that is truly built by the people. Built by the people for the people is kind of the model that Glitch has always been trying to adopt, right? And that's what we're trying to do now with the GEX, and we're working towards launching the GEX on mainnet and adopting all these types of, DAO mechanisms, or just unique features of the GEX, and I'm personally looking forward to seeing how it evolves over time. It's a long answer,
Yeah,
but I just wanted to, I really wanted to put my thoughts into this.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you really broke it down into, the terms of all the different areas by which, what is true decentralization. And these are all areas that, a lot of people don't think about. And so that's something that's being deeply considered with the GEX. And that's what its purpose is to answer, those areas. So that's great. The the next thing I wanted to ask you was about some of the ways that our users and our community are being encouraged to get involved in shaping the future of the GEX.
Yeah, so essentially, I guess this kind of goes back to my previous mention around DAO governance, right? So essentially, all community members will be directly controlling GEX decision making through their votes, right? Through governance. And this will be done through a native GEX token. So we'll touch a little bit about the future GEX token more down in our AMA, right? But essentially, an election process will be initiated through either snapshot or at least to start once the GEX is on the mainnet, right? And in the election, community members essentially have the opportunity to vote for council members and board members or elected leaders that will serve as the voice of the community, which is typical for standard DAO, mechanisms and structures, right? So we did post an article on our Medium. If you go on the Glitch.finance Medium, you can get access to that on our website or on Google. We did post a couple of articles about how, different ways that users are going to be encouraged in shaping the future of the GEX. And in that article, we talked about how the GEX is going to be structured, right? So essentially, while the community does make all the decisions for the GEX through voting on proposals, there still needs to be some level of leadership that carries out the voice of the overall community, right? So this essentially allows or requires the DAO to elect a few things, such as a chairman to oversee the council's operations, right? An operations manager, a marketing manager, a treasury manager, all voted in by the community, right? There's also going to be, different types of board memberships. There's six board memberships that are going to be open, all elected by the community. And so essentially all critical collective decision-making will be approved by the community through these proposals. And a non-passing proposal means that the proposal itself will either have to be dropped, revised, or resubmitted, right? And with the structure that I had just outlined above, this will allow us to essentially build out the GEX and put people in different leadership positions to help run the GEX while the community makes all the core decisions, right? And those people that are in a quote unquote leadership position, all they have to do is just carry out the wish of the community. And it's up to the community themselves to see what's going on within these different types of positions. They can either vote to replace them at some point, or there's going to be a renewal period for these board members. So there's a lot of information in the work in that will be presented more a little bit in light, but you can at least start reading this information on our Glitch Finance Medium page. There's multiple articles there that kind of outlines how the structure is going to go. Now, granted, we're finalizing everything right now, but we're working towards launching the GEX on mainnet. So that's why I'm excited, because this is all new, right? This is all new for the DeFi, at least in my experience. This is new for us. This is new. So we're working towards building a new type of decentralized exchange. And, we're proud to be, taking charge and leading innovation in that respect. So yeah,
absolutely. Completely agree. And what you were just talking about in terms of like the decision making processes, you're mentioning voting, and so a key part of that is obviously the GEX token. So the next question is, will the GEX have its own native dApp token? And if so, how is it used?
Yeah. So the GEX will have its own native dApp token. Obviously, it'll be called the GEX token. Typically, all decentralized exchanges have their own native token to use as governance, or to use through the governance process, right? So essentially, and the reason why we cannot use the glitch coin is because you wouldn't really use a native coin for a blockchain to vote on proposals for a dApp that is built on top of that blockchain. You don't really see that anywhere in the space. And in order to effectively make the GEX work as it's envisioned, we actually do need a GEX token in order to carry out those votes and to bring additional utility, including rewards, to all glitch holders and future GEX holders as well. So hopefully this answers that question.
Yeah, it does. And that is a question that had been brought up in the Telegram community recently. So that's a great explanation. And yeah, very good outline of why the two tokens are needed. Okay, so next, I'm going to speak a little bit about how new and potential users are being ensured that they have all the resources that they need to understand and use the GEX effectively. So as Ram and I have just been talking about, is we really understand the importance of providing our community with all of the necessary resources to navigate the GEX seamlessly. And as we gear up for the GEX launch, work is already underway to create comprehensive educational materials, guides, and tutorials. These resources will cover everything from setting up your glitch wallet to use with the GEX to understanding the unique features of the exchange. So you can already find some guides, as I mentioned, on our Medium and on our socials as well. So do check those out. And so our kind of user-centric approach is extending beyond just written guides. We'll also be creating video walkthroughs, holding AMAs like this one, and we'll explore avenues like webinars and other educational materials to ensure that your interaction with the GEX is seamless. Additionally, the team will be available to answer any queries, ensuring everyone feels confident and empowered to use the GEX to its fullest potential. And we'll continue to create and share informative content around the GEX. And we encourage everyone to stay up to date with the latest articles that we released on Medium. Aram, did you have anything more to add around resources?
Yeah, so there will be some additional resources as well on our website in terms of the documentation. So we are building out our documentation. So I just wanted to just retouch on this, is that there will be user guides, like you had mentioned, on the docs.glitch.finance on how to add tokens, how to add and remove liquidity, how to connect a wallet, just really simple things. And how to check your transactions using Explorer, just user guides on how to effectively use the GEX MVP, and potentially even some information about future integrations or things that we could add in the future that the community can spin up a proposal about and eventually vote upon. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for adding that on there. It's great that we're expanding and kind of adding more detail into the documentation. So yeah, keep an eye out for we'll share when that's ready. The next thing I was going to talk about was adding new tokens to the GEX. So as Ram and we've all been speaking about the very community controlled kind of decision-making processes. The process for adding a new token to the GEX would be a collaborative effort involving the GEX community, where users would submit a proposal for a new token they'd like to see listed, and then those proposals would undergo community voting, which gives every user a voice in the decision-making process. Something that I wanted, Diego, something you can help me touch on here is around minting a token on Glitch and how that process works.
So the process for mint a new token in the GEX will be pretty straightforward. We just use a smart contract and a pretty straightforward interface. I mean, you can do it directly in the code. At the beginning, it will be specifically running the code, it's a pretty smallish, like 10, 15 lines of code, and then you just run it, and then you mint the new token in the GEX. It's pretty similar to how you do it on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, I just wanted to add as well, in terms of adding tokens to the GEX, essentially, in terms of the whole governance side of things, I would think that's more towards like wrapped assets, like on the Ethereum blockchain, to add to the GEX, or on the Glitch blockchain on GEX. But in terms of adding more tokens to the GEX, essentially, and at least this is my understanding, that it would function similar to Uniswap, where you would be able to just add the liquidity to the GEX, and then that token would be actively traded on the GEX.
Cool. Great. Thank you both. Awesome. So, we've been discussing a lot around the overall vision, and I feel like, I've learned a lot of new things about the GEX today, and I hope everyone who's here with us has as well, because the GEX represents kind of much more than just another decentralized exchange. It embodies kind of the true essence of DeFi, empowering the community and upholding the principles of decentralization, as Aram mentioned earlier. And so our vision for the GEX is to create a vibrant ecosystem where every user becomes a stakeholder, and actively can participate in shaping the platform's future. So through the governance model, every voice is heard and every opinion matters. So this community-driven approach really ensures that power remains in the hands of those who use the platform, and not just a select few, like you do see so often in this space. We are seeing concerning trend towards centralization across many platforms, and the GEX really stands firm as a pioneer in tackling CDFI. So by returning power to the community, to the people, we're redefining the narrative and offering an alternative path towards a more inclusive and democratic DeFi future. I think that the GEX is going to be the decentralized exchange that the community deserves, and I think the future is really, really bright. As we come to the end of the panel section, and move into community questions, Diego, Aram, anything else to add before we jump into those?
Look, the only thing else that I have to add around the GEX vision is that I think it's going to be a truly different type of experience when it comes to decentralized exchanges. I think it'll be, in a way, an experiment. It'll be an experiment to see how the community comes together, to see how decisions are being thought about and implemented. And I think that it's going to be a pretty unique opportunity to show people in this space, in the DeFi space, what decentralization, what DeFi has always meant to be, was always supposed to mean in the first place. We weren't supposed to be so focused on KYC. Crypto was born as an alternative financial system, not necessarily to hide income or do any things that might seem a little bit sketchy. That's not the overall case, but it's just to have a freer sense of finance, right? Having that control of your own finances is why crypto and DeFi were born in the first place. And if we're operating in this space now, with top decentralized exchanges that are making decisions from their internal team and presenting it to the world without any real critical feedback from the community, and without the community shaping its products, essentially it'll always be a more centralized product that is driven by the select few and not the people. Right. And so this is why we're choosing to go in this direction with the GEX, is because we really want the industry to see and to go back to what DeFi was always supposed to be, which is an alternative financial ecosystem where people can control their own finances, where people don't have to be in fear of different types of government decision making all the time, right? Where people have just control of their own assets at the end of the day, and not putting their assets at risk at the hands of shady centralized exchanges that use their customer deposits to lend out to other businesses for profit, as an example, right? These things are crazy. What's happening in the space is just unbelievable. And that's why we're moving in this direction with the GEX. I think that the GEX is going to be a pretty unique decentralized exchange, and it'll be an opportunity for everyone to see how a decentralized exchange can be built from the start. And that's why I'm looking forward to the GEX. And I think that's why it's going to be as successful as we know it's going to be.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Aram. I really agree with everything you just said. And I know that the community is also really, really excited for the GEX, which is coming this summer. Diego, if you have anything else to share or not, we can jump into some community questions quickly.
Yes, just to support what Adam just said, I just wanted to mention that the only way for freedom to prevail in any freedom platform will be through decentralization. We have had experiment of centralized powers over the last 200 years, well, more, thousands of years, with the kings and then the empires and then these democracies. So we have the experiment. The experiment is not working. So they just seize the assets of the people to fund their luxurious ways of doing things. I mean, look at this guy from the United Kingdom, Boris. I mean, he was partying all the time with the people. I mean, and in my country, my home country, not my country, it's not mine. It's just I happen to live here. In the country I happen to live, I don't believe in countries. But in the country I happen to live, the president is a puppet and did exactly the same thing as Boris did in the UK, but he was not evicted from his mandate. So that's the difference between a third world country and a first world country. So anyhow, long story short, what I'm trying to say is that the only way for freedom to prevail is through decentralization, and we are building that vision right now. We have it in front of our eyes. At the beginning, it seems revolutionary, but then it makes sense when you start to use it. So the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and eternal vigilance will only be achieved through decentralization. That's it.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you very much, Diego, and thank you, Aram. Okay, let's quick fire into some community questions. I know we don't have a lot of time left in this session. So the first question that we got was, how much current circulating supply? And I was chatting with someone in the Telegram community about this yesterday. And Aram, we've been discussing, haven't we, getting the API updated so that it reflects correctly across all of the platforms. But I do believe that the current circulating supply is 79.5 million glitch.
That's correct. So we will be working on updating. We have identified that a couple of listing platforms have different circulating supply amounts, and what we have to do is just update the APIs, or just and submit another form for the update. Since the original circulating supply submission, there's been a number of community activities, staking campaigns, different types of liquidity pools have been opened. So the supply has slightly changed since the very, very, very beginning of the token launch, where essentially it was 72 million. Now the circulating supply is indeed 79 million. That is the correct number. And it is on CoinMarketCap. That is the updated and correct circulating supply.
Awesome. Thank you, Aram. And then, so the next question here is there a marketing campaign planned to promote the launch of the GEX and other upcoming products? Aram?
Yes, there is a marketing campaign. We've started our campaign. Actually, if you go on Twitter, you can see that we actually have started some paid promotion advertisements as well on a few GEX related posts, and our pin posts as well. We're going to continue to do some paid marketing. There's also going to be a lot of community related activities and programs to get involved and spread the message about Glitch, and also get rewarded as a thank you from the Glitch team for getting involved. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So definitely keep your eyes out, glitches. So the next one here, will there be a big widespread native token airdrop to attract more users / token holders?
That is something that we are talking about at the end of the day. And one of the ways that we could incentivize a lot of usage is to allow the community to utilize the GEX before some sort of airdrop is considered. But essentially what we want to do is launch the product on the mainnet, have everyone use the product as it's supposed to be used. And then we can come to a conclusion on if there's going to be an airdrop or not. But there also will be a raise. There will be a GEX raise to raise the certain number of funds needed to fund the initial liquidity for the GEX, for the initial token pairs, and to start funding the DAO treasury. So if there were to be an airdrop, it would only be a small percentage, but it would still be an incentive to utilize the GEX. So stay tuned for more information.
Perfect. And then one more here. When will the Glitch native coin be on KuCoin?
So the Glitch native coin will be on KuCoin after we complete a couple of things. One of them is the requirements to be listed in order for the mainnet to be listed, which is an audit. We are moving forward with an audit, an external audit and an internal audit. We have to complete our internal audit first before we complete a third-party audit. So so that's in the works. Once we fulfill that core requirement, we are able to move forward with the migration with decentralized exchanges, which includes IndoDAX and KuCoin. And at that point, everybody will be migrating to the native Glitch blockchain, and that native coin will be listed on KuCoin itself.
Perfect. Thank you. And then here's just our last one. Can you tell us something about the Lumos hackathon? What updates have we got around that?
Yeah, good question. So the Lumos hackathon is going to be a Glitch hackathon. So it's going to be a hackathon. It'll be called Build on Glitch Hack 2023. It's going to be an exclusive Glitch hackathon that focuses on building dApps on the Glitch chain. There's going to be a number of developers competing to present their MVPs in front of a panel of judges, in which the judges will vote on what the best idea or what the best dApp is in the MVP stage or in the final. And the goal is to essentially have them launch directly on the Glitch blockchain. So once the hackathon is finished, we're confident that there will be activity on the Glitch blockchain that is separate from our own engagements that we're doing, which is the Glitch Grants program. So those are two different things, but I'm personally excited to see what the hackathon is going to bring to Glitch. We're well in discussions with the Lumos team to make sure that the Glitch hackathon is as successful as it can be. They are creating a new website for us, so keep your eyes peeled. We will be making an announcement on our side, and they will also be making an announcement on their side in regards to the new website. And at that point, registrations will open, and pre-registrations will remain open throughout that process for about a few weeks until the hackathon begins. So the hackathon is going to be, the hackathon itself is going to begin in August, and it will extend until the end of September. And then that's when the panel of judges will judge the MVPs, and then the development teams who have won will launch them on Glitch. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Aram and Diego. And thank you to everyone who submitted questions. That is about all we... Oh,
sorry,
go on.
Apologize for cutting you off. There was a comment on the chat here that says, I thought they already started. My bad. They did start in terms of the phase 1, so which is the educational phase. This is the place where developers in different types of settings are able to learn about Glitch. That is what is sorry, that is what's happening right now, is that phase 1 is in progress. Education is in progress. Those developers are learning about Glitch. Actually, there was a few times where I have presented Glitch to all of those developers, where there's been over 100 developers. They've also all built out their EVM smart contracts, or they've tested it out on Glitch. And that education phase is very important to make people aware of the hackathon itself, and also about Glitch, and gain more of an understanding about the Glitch network and how to build on Glitch, right? So that when the hackathon time comes, which is phase 2 and phase 3, then that knowledge and that education is there in order for them to participate to the best of their abilities, as opposed to feeling lost. So hopefully that provides more context.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just add on to that as well, is that Lumos have also a couple of weeks ago released their glitch-based course on the Lumos Academy as well. So again, that feeds into that kind of education phase of the partnership. So that's quite something interesting to go and check out. If you're interested, you can go to the Lumos Academy and check out the Glitch course that's on there. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, Diego has had to leave us, but I will begin to wrap this up. Thank you very much for all of your questions. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and keep an eye out for new kind of video guides and content that we might be sharing soon. Follow us on Twitter at Glitch Protocol, Telegram t.me/Glitch Protocol, and discord.glitch.finance. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and yeah, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, guys.